weather. We've got weather. And take a second here, but we'll throw up the picture, a live shot or a shot over the last couple hours of Buffalo that the Bills tweeted out. So again, Cleveland and Buffalo, and you can take a look, Michael. I mean, it's really almost scary to look at. They're having a thunder snow, which is a really crazy situation in Buffalo. Cleveland, Buffalo, of course, have been moved to Ford Field. We'll get to the adjustment on the number, but we were just talking to Stephen Bond, who's from Buffalo. A lot of logistics here for the Bills. First off, they missed a practice day yesterday. They practiced over Zoom. You know how that goes. They're going to go over Zoom today as far as the team. When do they travel? Are they going to get out Saturday night to Detroit? Are they going to get out early Sunday and move the game back to 4? There's a lot logistically going on with this game.
Well, you know, a lot of it they can't control. So they need a runway. They need an airport that's open, right? So when's, you know, before I can answer the question, tell me when their airports are the airports going to be open? Are they going to be cleared and open in Buffalo? When is this going to stop? Saturday morning, Sunday morning? You know, I thought they would have left yesterday. I thought as soon as they moved the game, they would have gotten hightailed out of there just to avoid the storm. But maybe they didn't have a plane ready. Maybe they couldn't get everything organized. I mean, you knew this was coming. So I'm not blaming anybody here. I'm just saying that was my first instinct. Let's get out while the getting's good here. They couldn't do that. So for me now, they've got to try to get out Saturday afternoon because the league won't let you leave the day of the game. I understand there's certain circumstances, but something could go wrong. You know, a malfunction on the plane, you know, something happens. Right. So I think they would want them to leave Saturday, you know, to move the game to 4:00 could be an option. I think they're all up in the air, but I think the most important fundamental question is when will airports be open in Buffalo? And by that picture, I would suspect Saturday morning at the earliest, and Saturday afternoon late would probably be the more realistic goal.
I hadn't thought about what you said, but we were talking yesterday during the show in real time, like, why hasn't a decision been made? Because to your point, if a decision had been made, Buffalo could have got the hell out of there. And remember, they're playing in Detroit on Thanksgiving. What Bond just told me, and we'll get to the number, but what Bond just told me is they're planning on going back to Buffalo after the Sunday game against Cleveland and then traveling back to Detroit. That doesn't make a ton of sense, does it?
No, but it's only it can't be more than an hour. All you can do is cross Lake Erie. It's not a long flight at all. I mean, the former owner of the Bills, Ralph Wilson, lived in Detroit. So he's, you know, that commute has always been fairly easy. So I get it. I mean, whether you get on a bus for an hour, but it's still, you got to get on the bus, go to the airport, pack all your stuff, bring it there, come back, you know, and then get ready for the game. And so that becomes a little bit of a problem. And how do you get all your gear, your time, you know, that's probably not something that they're really accustomed to doing, so they don't want to mess anything up and stay within their comfort zone. Since it's only an hour flight, why not?
I believe he lived right there in Grosse Pointe, Ralph Wilson. It's a very bougie area next to Detroit that is a lot of the magnates in the car industry. Anyway, the adjustment on the number, remember, it was 8, a couple of 7.5s with Buffalo laying it yesterday. We'll get to the total. But interestingly enough, I see DraftKings sitting 7.5, Circa's 8, BetMGM is sitting 7.5. So if anything across the board, we saw a tick down of a half a point as far as the Bills laying 7.5 as opposed to 8.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of 7.5s. You know, I just got Russo sent me his numbers for his show today, and you know that's 7.5. He's got the Eagle game at 7, which I don't see very many 7s out there, but obviously, you know, he can manipulate those lines since it's his game. I can't control them. But the other one that was interesting that on the lines he sent me was Kansas City's only a 5-point favorite against the Chargers. That line has come way down from before. I don't know if there's 5s out there, if there's still, but 5s. To me that seems like that tells me that Williams and Keenan Allen are probably going to play because I can't imagine that line's coming that far down. I mean, the 49ers were a 7-point favorite. I know they played at home, but there's no home field advantage for the Chargers. Let's face it, there will be a sea of red at SoFi Stadium. It will be a bunch of Chief fans there.
The biggest adjustment, Michael, there's no surprise here. We were, 41, 42 on the Cleveland-Buffalo total. It's all the way up across the board, 49.5. So that was the adjustment. We all knew that the total was going to be adjusted big time up. One thing I will say about that total and about the game, is looking through the Lombardi lines. This does appear to be one of the games with the biggest wiggle. I think you like Buffalo in this matchup.
I do. I like Buffalo. I think I have a significant wiggle. I mean, Buffalo's really good in a lot of categories. Now, I got to be careful here because all signs point to Buffalo. But again, we've got to look at that injury report. Baum was just saying how many guys have missed, guys are ruled out. You got to be careful here. If Milano's hurt, now I know he was sick, he's not playing. I mean, the run defense is going to be the key to this game. Can they stack up? Will they go to a base front? Will they try to match up? Will they get bigger on their defensive line? You know, when you look at their team, that's going to be the concern. They like to play nickel all the time. They're so used to playing from in front. I think Cleveland will have a hard time slowing down the Buffalo offense because Cleveland can't cover, and that'll allow Buffalo to run the ball like Miami did. Miami was determined to run the ball last week because they were playing all pass. And then when they had to throw the ball, they didn't give up a lot of big plays against Miami, but Miami was able to control the game with their run game. And I think that's what Buffalo can do as well.
Rousseau, White, and Edmonds all have been ruled out for Buffalo. This will be a test for the Bills' defense because in recent weeks, Michael, they've showed weakness against the run. Last 3 games, teams have gone for 145-plus against this Bills' defense, to your point about Milano and that defensive front.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think when you look at the game, right, you know, so they are not, and I've said this before, they're not a physically big team, right, Buffalo defensively. Buffalo is built to, like a lot of teams that are very good offensively, they're built to get the lead and play from in front, right? And so when you get the lead and play from in front, you know, that's important. Now, Jordan Phillips didn't practice. He's one of their key guys inside, you know, and then Tim Settle he's back at practice, but he had an illness. There's a lot of when I'm looking at their injury report based on yesterday, there's 5 guys that have illness. They've got a lot of flu symptoms going around their building. That's not a good thing. That's a worrisome to me. That makes me concerned. It would make me almost not want to play the game because, you know, even though the players are playing, they're not 100%. They're going to need fluids. And now that you're playing indoors, with the heat, you know, I know it'll be air conditioned, but that when you're inside, your body's fluids, especially if you've got a cold and flu, it's going to wear down a little bit. That makes me worried. They've got the bug going through their team. It might be actually a good thing that they didn't go to practice because they probably don't want to be around and everybody catching a cold. I mean, you know what it's like. You know, you have my grandkids go to school, one gets sick, yep. The next thing you know, the whole house is sick. I think that's what happens to football teams as well.
Bond is telling me Milano, according to the Bills PR, was a full participant. Full participant means he was on Zoom, which is really, yeah. Wait, you know, also I wrote down to ask you both in regards to the fans. First off, there's no Buffalo people that are going to be able to travel to the game. Cleveland is a couple hours away, so maybe they'll have, but this is, you know, what makes Buffalo so unique is the climate and is the great home field advantage they have. They're very much losing that here.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know if they'll be, look, I'm thinking people in Buffalo are going to have a hard time digging out. I mean, when is the storm actually going to end? I mean, it's going to take a lot of effort to dig out. I mean, what do you do with 7 feet of snow around your house? I mean, you just don't, I mean, where do you put it?
Where does it go? Literally. My thing, I don't know about you, but the thing I hated the most growing up was shoveling snow. I can be very honest and tell you I've never shoveled 7 feet. So
no, of course you haven't. No, who does? I mean, you know, and then here's the problem too is like, you know, if you live in Colorado and it gets 3 feet of snow, you know, the next day could be 65 degrees. That snow melts a lot, right?
That's right.
I don't think they're getting a 65-degree day in Buffalo until May. Just going to put it out there. I mean, I've lived in Cleveland. Those 65 days after November 1st are gone. So, you know, that snow's going to be there a while. Yeah. It's going to be there a while.
That is a great question. What you do is you hope the heat works. You hope you have some food in the fridge, and you bunker down for like a few. There's no Buffalo Bills fans that are just like, let's head to Detroit.
Ain't nobody working in Buffalo. You might as well have a little bit of Jack. You might as well have, you know, nobody's ordering takeout. There's no takeout delivery guy coming. Forget about that. You know, and you know, have a little bit of bourbon, have some food, get Netflix roared up. You know. Watch White Lotus. I mean, I don't know. You know, watch JFK for the 80th time. I mean, there's a lot to. I mean, I'd be a lot of reading to do. You can get some stuff done.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.